All right, it's time for another Music on the Menu. We're joined by Black Tie Stereo today. But before we even talk about music, Alan, we got to talk some baseball here. We're big Yankees fans.
We usually do.
We're big Yankees fans, and it was a great year. They won 100 games. Unfortunately, couldn't get past the world champion Red Sox. The big thing is the Yanks need an ace. They signed Sabathia back for a one-year deal. I don't know why. What's your thoughts on that?
I think it was leadership. I think he's a leader in the clubhouse. I think you don't count on him to even be a 1, 2, or 3 guy in the rotation. He's a 4 or 5 guy. $8 million, which for the Yankees, they make that much money selling soda at one game, and really probably. And maybe you pencil him in for 12, 14 wins, bottom of the rotation, and be a leader to the young guys. I think that's probably why they signed CC.
Let's go Sox.
Yeah. All right. Okay.
Got some Red Sox fans here.
We're done with the sports.
We got some Red Sox fans here.
Now, let's go to music.
Congratulations, by the way, gentlemen, on your championship.
We'll be nice and congratulate you.
Appreciate it.
Great run, great season.
Let's congratulate you on something else. Another new song coming out for you guys, right? Crack Screens. Why don't you guys go ahead and tell us about that?
The joke is Crack Screens is based on a time when the 4 of us were on our way back from recording our Do You EP in California, and we were in New Orleans and we were doing what you do in New Orleans, and I broke my phone. Long story short, but I think Crack Screens to me is about being young, and sometimes when you're young it's tough, and you're not where you want to be necessarily, but that's okay, because you're not worried because
you're young.
Just enjoy it. Just know it's not going to be this way forever, so enjoy it while it lasts. I
saw on your Facebook page it's been getting some radio time, and Alan, you just played it during your Music on the Menu edition for the radio. I don't want to throw this to Katy Perry, but I remember seeing one time that Katy Perry was like whenever she hears her song come on the radio for the first time, she's stoked about it. Are you guys the same way? Like whenever you hear your song come on the radio for the first time, it's kind of like, all right, that's our song, or are you kind of more just, whatever?
Yeah, oh, for sure. I mean, the first time that one of our songs was played on the radio, I think we all drove to Steven's house and listened to it like in his living room. It was just a really wow, we something that we worked on is now on the radio kind of deal, which is it's really cool, and it doesn't really ever get old, I guess. So she's right, but it's an awesome feeling. I'd be lying if I said it didn't make you feel pretty good.
I bet it is. And Alan, I always like to get your takes whenever we talk about the artist's new songs. What's your take on this song here?
I'm a big fan of all this guy's stuff. Whenever they send us anything new, we get it right on. I mean, you could hear the growth a little bit. You could hear how they're growing as a band, but yet they're staying true to what they are as a band. And it's been a lot of fun. We got their first music from these guys in 2014. So about 4 years now we've been playing them on the show. Whenever they got something, it's always exciting to get it on the air.
All right, so now we talked about sports before. Let's shift gears to politics, if you will, because I saw on Facebook too, yesterday you guys were saying, everyone make sure you go out and vote, which is very mild, if you will, I guess, thing to do about politics. You guys aren't ever going to be like a Hank Williams or a Kid Rock, where you're going to go out there and tell everybody who they should vote for, and, get your political agenda across, if you will.
I don't think at this point in our careers we can afford to piss off a portion of our fan base. Who knows? Maybe down the line when we could afford. Kid Rock says what he thinks. He still has enough people to come out and see him anyway. So.
Bruce Springsteen's sure not afraid to do it, is he?
Who are some of the guys that do this?
Or whoever, both sides. They each got their allies, that's for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think we get our song this time around from our Do You has some political jabs in there that are pretty subtle, that I don't think most people would pick up on, but we know that they're there, and I think that's enough for us at this point. Yeah.
And it was highlighted in the lyric video for that song too, so if anybody's wondering where we might stand on certain issues, you could just watch that, and then that would be cleared up.
I say, is this something that, I guess, Alan, this is probably a question for you, covering so many musicians throughout the years. Is this like, do musicians like taking their stance through songs? I know
it depends on the artist. I saw a great interview with Elvis Presley, which he did in the early 70s. And Vietnam was still going on. He was playing Madison Square Garden, I guess, for the first time. And he said, I'm just an entertainer, you know, and that's how he looked at himself. It's not my place to talk about Watergate at the time or Vietnam at the time. I'm sure he had opinions within his own circle of friends and family, but he didn't want it. And then you got a guy like Bono or Bruce who that's kind of what they do. And I don't think for them to remain silent, they would be being true to themselves. So I think it depends on the personality and the convictions of the artist. I don't have a problem with artists that do it. If an artist says, I'm just an entertainer, it's not really, I don't want to talk about politics, that's fine. But if you do it, I'm okay with it. I think that, you know, some people want to use that platform they have as a rock star, a celebrity, a musician, to convey what they believe in, and usually their fans kind of fall into line with them eventually, you know. And so I'm fine with it. How about you guys? I mean,
I think if you believe passionately enough in something to make it the forefront of who you are as an artist or what you're doing professionally, then I think you have every right, obviously, as an American, to do that. You know, I may not agree with everything that artists say when they come out and take stances on things, but I think people also have to realize, like an artist like Bruce, he has such a large following, you know, millions of people. You know, and if he feels that something is important enough to have a message and to stand behind, his goal is, hey, if I can only reach some of those people that are in it, you know, we could maybe affect some change. And I think that's what it's about. It's affecting change on either side of the aisle. So, yeah, I agree with Alan. I think there's a pro and a con to it.
I mean, they can't lose me. I mean, there's a rock star who has lost me as, I wasn't that big of a fan of his music anyway, but I think he's so out there with his, you know, he's a guitar player from Detroit. You know, I don't want to hear him anymore. You know, I just think there's some bigotry there in his dialogue, which so I don't want to listen to his records anymore.
Yeah, I think that's the main thing for us is not so much the fiscal side of politics, but definitely the social side of politics. You know, hate has no place, especially with us and what we do. So we will be sure to promote the opposite.
All right, guys. Well, we got a lot there. We got music, we got sports, we got politics. That's what you call an action-packed block. And we're going to have much more action-packed blocks coming your way right after this break. All right, a bit of a switcheroony here. So George and Jesse are out, and we're going to sub in Aaron and Steve, and all of you guys from Black Tie Stereo. They're our guests tonight here for Music on the Menu. Guys, before we were doing the radio version of the show, what I found very interesting was there's not one person writing songs. All of you guys kind of all, you know, help each other out, do your own kind, you know, write your music, kind of work on it together. What's that kind of like having to come together as a group and, you know, working together towards writing one song?
Sometimes it's a pain. You know, we all have our own individual schedules. We all have our own individual things that we want to put forward in the song, regardless of whether it started as our idea or another guy's. But for the most part, you know, we're all, you know, gifted musicians. We all play off each other. He's going to bring an idea that I would have never thought of. Like, we're working on a song, and he just goes up to me one day and says, I think we should put some brass in that. And I said, I was not getting that at all, but, you know, let's try it. Like, so, you know, we're always coming up with new ideas, and each person has a better one than the next, so.
And then one thing I always like to ask our guests too, you know, when it comes to writing styles, some people like to lay the music down first and then try to get catchy words. To other people, like, you know, they have this message they want to get across. The words specifically kind of come before the music. Where are you guys at with that, or does it vary between the four of you?
I'd say 99% of the time it's music first.
Yeah.
I don't think we've ever written just lyrics first.
We might have like one lyric idea that spurs on a song, but other than that.
And Alan, you're the music genius in the room here. What do you see the majority of people doing? Is it music first, then words?
I hear that all the time, that it's music first. And I could actually remember the first time I ever read that in an interview. I was in high school, and I was reading an interview with Van Halen. And Eddie would write all the music, and then David would put the words on them. And I just blew my mind. I just always thought the song was about what you were singing about. You know, you're going to write about this girl or this situation, this breakup, this political situation, whatever it was, and that's what caused that creative spark first. But Talking to musicians for the past 25 years, as much as I have been, I'd say 90% of them say that it's the way you guys do it. They come up with the song first, the music, and then set words to it. And that's kind of fun, I think, because then, probably the lyrics that are going to be put on it, are inspired by the music too. The vibe of the music, the tone of the music,
And Alan, another thing for you too. So between covering local and national, artists, are there anyone that maybe you scratch your head and like, where in God's name did you come up with that writing style?
No, not really. I mean, there's nobody that I thought that. I thought there were some bands over the years that were doing something innovative. I don't know if you guys don't remember the Collectives. They were around in the 2000s, and they were a hip-hop band. Kermit Alfonso was the vocalist, but they played with a band. I mean, a good band. And so they were on stage, and then I went to see a hip-hop tour at Montage with some of the biggest names in hip-hop, and they were, singing as a glorified karaoke. And I couldn't believe that the national bands weren't doing what the Collective were doing right here in Wilkes-Barre, in Scranton, which was, taking that music and really playing it live very well. That was one that, sticks out as being what's that all about?
How about, do you guys have an experience kind of like Alan's where you're kind of wondering like what in God's name are these people doing here, or is everything pretty straightforward with artists that you guys follow and all that?
I think we raise our eyebrows at a couple things here and there, but for the most part, we're always looking to think outside the box, and if someone's doing it before we are, then, take notes.
So when you say think outside the box, what are some of the ideas that you're trying to come up with maybe that somebody else isn't doing?
Get creative, Aaron.
Oh, man.
Sorry to put you guys on the spot here.
No, that's a good question. Something to think about.
We've been trying to find a balance. A lot of bands are incorporating more and more electronic elements, and then other bands, it's like there's a divide, especially in the indie kind of pop realm. Bands are either going this kind of old school rock or all electronic moderny. So we're kind of tiptoeing on the line in the middle, because
we just did like one of each.
Yeah,
kind of,
especially with the
our
last two songs
yeah.
that came out. One was very synthy, one was very kind of old school. So we're trying to find a happy middle ground.
Okay, and when we were doing the radio version too, we were talking, I guess, artists, for you guys that are younger, trying to get signed, or is it kind of like what you were just saying, where things are more digital and all that now? So what's kind of the route that you guys go? Is it trying to get more digital views and streams online, or is it trying to get a record deal from somebody?
I'd certainly think the next step for us is to build our online presence, and that that could pay dividends, or it could just just keep what we're doing now just a little bit better. But obviously we're not going to balk at a record deal if someone came and offered it to us. But usually to get traction, to get the attention of the higher ups in the music industry, you need to have a killer online presence, and that's something we definitely want to push for.
And then, Alan, real quick, just before we go to break here, you were saying that history is almost repeating itself, right? Because the Beatles kind of did something where there wasn't an album coming out, and they were just kind of releasing singles and putting things out there, and ended up being Hey Jude, and ended up being a big hit, right?
Yeah, I didn't even realize this myself until the late 80s when CDs start coming out. There's these two Beatles CDs. They're called Backmasters Volume 1 and 2. And a lot of the songs on those records are singles that were never on Beatles albums. And so I bought these records when they came out, and like the songs on them were iconic songs. Like Hey Jude was one of them. And you put that song in your mind as a late 60s, end of the Beatles era song, maybe Abbey Road or Let It Be, and it wasn't on either of those albums. It was a single. So it is something that has a history in music. Just sticking out a good song right when you recorded it as a hold me over to the fans between records, or just because you're anxious to let them hear it. Actually, even though it seems like a new thing now, it goes back to the 60s originally.
All right, and then real quick, guys, just before we go, try to be quick. Tell everybody where they could check your music out at.
We really love to push Spotify. That's where we're putting all of our new music out. We've got some new videos coming up on YouTube, and as always, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you give us a follow there. You'll be updated as to all the new stuff.
Alrighty, well make sure that all you guys check that stuff out. And don't go anywhere because right after this break, we're going to hear Black Tie Stereo perform live inside Breakers at Mohegan Sun Pocono.
Please give a warm welcome for Black Tie Stereo.
Of you, wondering what's been going on. He said he'd move out west, thought it was for the best. You woke in the morning, he was gone. And I wonder what you had to say. I wonder what you had to say. It's a brand new day. You know it's all for you. Wake up to another one. What have you got to to look so good, attack the way he should. Now everybody knows his name. Wanted to have more fun, so he found another one. But we know he won't feel the same. I wonder what you had to say. I wonder why he thought that way. Come on, it's a brand new day. You know it's all for you. Wake up to another one. What have you got to show? So break yourself into to play these parts. Come on. 'Cause on the avenue, your life gets hard. Come on, it's a brand new day. You know it's just for you. Come on, it's a brand new day. You know it's all for you. Wake up, there's another one. What have you got to love? Come on, it's a brand new day. You know it's all for you. Wake up, there's another one. What have you got to love? Come on, it's a brand new day. Down on the avenue. take what's left of me. Say, oh, you can take what's left of me with these cracked screens and lost IDs. Oh, you can have the rest of. Now I see my world spins a little faster. And baby, I'll let you be my natural disaster. Oh, she said, let's go fast, let's go far, let's find out who we really are. We haven't got a clue. Too little, too late, but it's another mistake when there's nothing left to lose. Nothing left to lose. Through the crowded bars and travel streets, oh, you're the only one I need. With the cracked screens and lost IDs, oh, you can take what's left of me. Say, oh, you can take what's left of me with these cracked screens and lost IDs, oh, you can have the rest of. What's left of me? There's nothing left of me. Through the crowded bars and traveled streets, oh, you're the only one I need. With the cracked screens and lost IDs, oh, you can take what's left of me. Say, oh, you can take what's left of me with these cracked screens and lost IDs, oh, you can have the rest of. Thanks, everybody. We're Black Tie Stereo. Thanks for coming out to Breakers tonight. Thanks for tuning into the river. We've had a great time here today. That's one of our brand new tunes. You can check that out on Spotify. That's called Cracked Screens, if you couldn't tell, because we said it about 20 times. In the song, that is. This next one is Could You Be Mine? We just released it a couple weeks ago. And we really enjoy it. We hope you do too.